Oh no. This is impossible. This can't be. No!
The sky is blue!
That feels wrong. I don't like that. Aren't we supposed to live in a country where it's raining every hour on the hour? I mean, what am I supposed to do? Film outdoors? Actually, that doesn't sound half bad of an idea. Today, we're going to be covering the original run of Twin Peaks. And Fire Walk with Me as well. Sure, why not? I don't really have an intro planned for this, so let's just get right to it, shall we?
Episode 1, Laura Palmer is found dead in the river, and believe it or not, that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of the series. We also find a decapitated Stackhead on the table, so that's 2 and 2 for this episode. Episode 5, it was never made very clear what happened to Bernard, but what we do know is that he's dead and Leo did it. Leland, however, was only there for moral support. Episode 7, Leo kills the one-armed man's innocent pet bird Waldo with a shotgun. Now, if I may be so kind to ask, what's with the horror genre and their major distaste for birds? Seriously, it's not just me noticing this, right? I'm sure that question is worse than just a little bird blood on your donuts, that's for sure. Episode 8, Jock eats smothered to death with a pillow, and shocker, Leland was the murderer the whole time. Yeah, we all knew his poopy pants crying face were the true signs of a cold-hearted murderer. Oh yeah, and Dale Cooper gets shot, but somehow he doesn't die. And with that, Season 1 has officially come to a conclusion.
Now we're going to do something a little different for Season 2, mainly because of the season's crushing length, clocking in at about 22 episodes, as opposed to Season 1, which only had 8. So I'll try to get through episodes 1 through 9 as quick as possible, so we could get to the more weirder stuff. Seriously, how else am I supposed to phrase that? Episode 1, Donuts! Episode 2, we get our infamous Bob jumping over the couch meme. Quick, BBC 2, hide this one so TikTok doesn't claim this one as well! Episode 4, Emery breaks one of Twin Peaks' golden rules, and that is to never mess with Jean. The same thing happens to Blackie in episode 5, where Sheriff Harry was the only one to witness Blackie's rule breaking. The exact same episode, a bodyguard tells Harry and Cooper to abide by Jean's rules, but that ultimately gets him killed by Hawk. Side note though, Hawk is one of the coolest characters in this series. Episode 7, all while being my favorite episode of the entire series, yes, better than Part 8 and Beyond Life and Death, but we'll get to that, I promise, has a plethora of kills hidden up its sleeve, but I'm probably gonna have to explain the entire scene in order to get the context behind it. Don't need to explain Harold's death though, since he hung himself before the episode could even begin. I'm gonna give you a recap on what happens in my all-time favorite scene of the entire show. The Giant interrupts a Julie Cruz concert to give Cooper the heads up that somebody is about to die. I think it's more like giving the audience a heads up, since spoiler alert, it gets pretty intense. Since it's revealed that Bob is using Leland as his host, and then goes on to kill Maddie because she's the only person in this town that resembles the person Leland killed. The person being Laura Palmer. That's actually a great casting on David Lynch's part, since the person who played Maddie, Cheryl Lee, was also the person who played Laura Palmer. And just like Laura Palmer, Maddie is viciously beaten down by Leland. He then picks her up, twirls around all while crying in typical Leland fashion, all while Bob is really starting to get weird with Maddie. And last but certainly not least, Leland finishes Maddie off by ramming her into the wall. The Giant's like, oh well, I guess I'm done here. And so the Julie Cruz concert continues. Yay! Episode 9, Bob kills his host because Leland just didn't want to live a life of crime anymore. And just like Maddie, he dies from ramming into a wall. Boy, if I had a nickel! Episode 12, Dougie Milford dies of a heart attack in his own bed. Don't worry, Jay, you got off easy. Could have been worse. You could have been sent to hell. Episode 13, John kidnaps Cooper and tells him to abide by his rules. Luckily, Denise comes in and says, my house, my rules. And to top off this nice slice of irony, John ends up being the one that doesn't abide by Denise's rules. So yeah, that's the last we see of Michael Parks in this series. Oh wait, there's also a Wyndham Earls chess game and a dead guy that's... No, there's nothing there, there's just a dead guy.
Disappointed!
Episode 16, Thomas Eckhart is found with a gunshot wound. He dies shortly after. That was probably revenge for trying to kill Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, but then again, Billy Zane was also in Titanic, so I don't know.
Also, Josie dies shortly after from a heart attack. Now, in the previous version, I described this scene as, "This show is freaking weird, man." But that video isn't accurate anymore, since after the fire, the channel was pretty much discontinued. So, there's that. Also, this is literally my nightmare. This isn't even in the script. This is the most accurate depiction of my nightmares right here. Jesus. Episode 19, Billy Zane is still in this show? Really? I honestly don't care, since David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti's credits are enough to keep me occupied. In this episode, Rusty Tomasky gets trapped in a giant papier-mâché chess piece by Windom Earles and is later shot by him. And to this day, I honestly don't know why. Is it because his name is Ted Raimi? Also, I would like to have a moment to share this scene with you. There's no context in it whatsoever, I just find it funny.
Oh, I can't believe it! I've been owned!
Episode 21, Leo is last seen holding a rope between his teeth, dangling a bunch of tarantulas in a cage or something. Just like the rest of episode 22, it's left ambiguous if Leo died or not, but then again, Eric DeRee was one of the few cast members that didn't return for the return. I guess it's fair that we count him on this list because, let's face it, nothing gets past Windom Earles. I mean, nothing. Speaking of episode 22, what the hell? This is probably the most surreal episode in this entire show. And it's not too surreal, it's actually a healthy dose. But don't worry, I'll find a way to make it through this, I promise. Anyways, episode 22. Del-P and Andrew are unceremoniously killed in an explosion caused by Thomas Eckhart's booby-trapped safe deposit box. But don't worry, Audrey managed to make it out alive. It's fine. And last but not least, the final kill in Twin Peaks. Windom Earles gets his soul stolen by Bob, since little did he know, Bob actually liked Spider-Man 3. As well as being a massive Evil Dead fan. Seriously, how am I supposed to tie that back into the Ted Raimi thing? Meanwhile, Laura. Meanwhile, Leland. Meanwhile, how's Annie? And that's it. Twin Peaks, everybody. God, my head freaking hurts. And if you thought we were done there, hold your horses because we still have Fire Walk with Me to cover. Brace yourselves. There's not a lot to cover, to be honest. Pablo's found dead and there's a letter underneath the fingernail. David freaking Bowie, Carmen Bizia, Julie Cruz, Cliff gets shot in the back of the head, Laura dies, roll credits. Yeah, there's not a lot happening here, if I may be so honest with myself. And that was it. I hope this video gave you some insight on how much I love this show. I mean, it is above Breaking Bad after all. The mystery, the acting, the cinematography, everything about this show is just chef's kiss. So in the midst of covering season 3, I should probably cover it in a different jumper, on a different day, in a different location. With different walls. Episode 1, Sam and Tracy are torn apart by a shadowy experiment. Now, I gotta say this, what a hell of a way to begin an episode. Like, seriously. Didn't expect that from Twin Peaks. Also, Ruth Davenport is discovered with a missing eye by Olsen and Chad. And also, she was decapitated and she's naked. So that's free for free. Also, good to see the Log Lady and Hawk back in the series. Damn, that's at least 4 alsos in this whole episode. And that is my 5th one. God, I need to shut up. Episode 2, Mr. C receives his first kill by shooting Phyllis in the face. Also, why is the arm a tree? I get that he evolved, but why did he choose a tree to evolve in? I don't know. Later on, Mr. C meets up with a spicy woman named Darya, and shocker, he kills her. 2 episodes in, and I still don't know what Mr. C's motivation is, besides intimidation tactics. Also, it's been a wee while since we saw Leland. It's good to see him again. Later on, Sarah watches a nature documentary where a boar is being ripped apart by tigers. And that's all we have for episode 2, except this one thing. Mr. C kills this guy at the garage. I know it's off screen, and I know the method is pretty much unclear, but we know that he's dead later on from Cooper, so it feels safe to count him now. Episode 3, Dougie Jones ceases to exist in order to allow Dale Cooper back into the human world. And that causes his head to disappear.
return, you're really starting to lose me. Geez, even the one-armed man is like,
Well, I didn't expect that. Who cares? I'm only happy because Gordon Cole is back, and apparently he's around for the long haul since we have 11 episodes to spend with him.
What the hell?
I'm gonna skip to episode 5 because no one really died in episode 4. Major Briggs is later on found without a head or a heart. I feel like that's gonna be a running theme throughout this show.
Spoiler alert! No, it is not!
Also, Windows 7! Oh yeah, and 3 punks die in an explosion that was caused by Gene's bomb, which was meant for Dale Cooper, but we're not supposed to know that yet, okay? Hey, Dr. Jacoby. Episode 6, the series just full-on killed a kid. Suspect, Richard Horn. Dun dun dun! God, I really need to shut up right now. Later on, Ike proves that dwarves and ice picks do not go together, since it ends up killing Lorraine and her co-worker. Another co-worker walks in to see what all the ruckus is about, but that ends up getting her done in as well. I'm sorry, what franchise are we in again? Episode 7, another dead body without a head is found because... wait a minute, scratch that. That is not another dead body. That's just Major Briggs again. Lynch, I specifically told you not to show him again, and yet you did. You lied to me. Spider-Man, you betrayed my trust.
You know what? I'm starting to not like this series. I'm getting sick of all the gangsters and hit and runs. I want something to make sense. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. One time.
Okay. I guess this is the series we're in now. Speaking of which, oh hey Bob. Episode 8. The heads of the receptionist and the disc jockey are crushed to smithereens by the woodsman. Fun fact for all you music aficionados out there, the person who played the receptionist, Tracy Phillips, just so happened to star as the title character in My Chemical Romance's music video for Helena. Although in this show, it is figuratively and literally so long and good night to this character. As for Colleen Douglas, he hasn't really starred in anything that I have heard of, but in 2014 he did get a small role as Edison in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And with that, this crazy episode is finally over. Episode 9. We're back in the real world featuring Mr. C, the angry gunslinger model. And guess what surrounds him? More dead bodies! And I do mean that there are more dead bodies. There's even another decapitated head found in the
Oh my god, we get it! Briggs is dead! Can we please move on now?
But hey, at least we get to see more of Gordon. As well as... Shaggy from Scooby-Doo? Well, that's a fun fact if I've ever heard one. Alright, episode 10 is probably the only dead body we're going to see throughout this entire episode. But don't worry, there's enough Jacoby to go around. Episode 11. The Black Lodge Woodsman somehow leaps through space and time to kill William Hastings. Gordon reacts in the most appropriate fashion.
He's dead.
Episode 12. Gary gets the upper hand against Dwight by shooting him in the back of the head. Now, if you ask me, this was only put in the series to show that David Lynch is still pretty good at gun kills. Nailed it. Also, don't ask me how that woman from episode 10 survived despite having the most clear fate of them all. Evidence, my friend, points to a simple news. Episode 13. Renzo faces off against Mr. C in a arm wrestling match. But, as always, Mr. C gets the upper hand and... yeah, that happens. He also shoots this Tarantino-looking guy named Ray Monroe in the face. Primarily because he looked like an aged-down Steve Buscemi. Oh hey, Nadine. Episode 14. Bet you never heard this joke before. A Sarah Palmer walks into a bar and says, "Hey, I need some flesh." So she kills a trucker. Yeah, my joke idea is unoriginal. Is it just me, or am I the only one who's experiencing deja vu here? I don't know. It's pretty confusing if you ask me. Yeah, my joke idea is unoriginal. Episode 14, we received 3 kills for the first time in, 8-ish episodes? Those deaths being Steven, Duncan, and Zards. Ironically, those were all caused by the same weapon. In the exact same episode, we also get the sad fate of the Log Lady. I know this was primarily because of the passing of Catherine E. Coulson, but even a year later, it still depresses me. Like, why must you do this? Who's gonna take care of that log now? Episode 16. Remember that guy who ran over the kid at the start of the episode? Well, he gets electrocuted to death. But this killing train of utter satisfaction isn't making its departure yet, since Gary and Chantel are shot down by a Polish accountant, ending the reign of the 2 most insufferable characters in the whole series. At last, justice is finally served in this show. Episode 17, Mr. C gets shot by Lucy, finally bringing the crime-ridden state of Twin Peaks to a proper conclusion. Except for one more thing. The death of Mr. C ends up bringing back the spirit of Bob, who looks like he was made in Adobe After Effects. Freddy ends up killing him by blowing him up. And finally, episode 18. Dale Cooper pays Laura Palmer a visit, which in this case has taken the form of Carrie, and turns out she's living with a dead body. Jesus Christ, is this episode confusing. Like, with episode 17, you were just starting to put the pieces together, but that was just all completely shafted once this episode came out. And with that, we are finally finished with Twin Peaks The Jesus, calm down, Carrie!
Are we done? Honest God, are we done? Well, okay then. It's settled. This episode is just straight up unexplainable.
Yeah, I know there's some detail in there about Sarah Palmer being possessed by Judy, or the fact that in some dimensions Laura Palmer is still dead, despite still being alive in the current dimension.
I don't know. I don't care. Let's just get this over with.
So anyways, let's start with the essentials. The grand total kill count for the entire series is 61. 62 if you're willing to count Dale's doppelganger. The runtime for the whole series is 46.75 hours, or 2,805 minutes if you want to be technical. As for the kill on average, that's something you're probably going to have to figure out for yourself. Alright, enough about the pointless details, let's get to the stuff that actually matters. Now, some of you may notice that I haven't mentioned the missing pieces once, and that's because it doesn't have a single kill in it. You may argue that the only kill in that movie was the guy who got punched by Chip, but I say that he was only knocked out. He's not technically dead. Next is Fire Walk With Me at 3 kills. And then season 1 after that, season 2 after that. Now, season 2 really upped the game when it came to kills, with deaths like Josie, Leland, Maddie, and all that. How do you exactly one-up 17 kills? Since, in that terms, that's like Avengers Infinity War level kill count right there. Well, then there's The Return with 36. Now, due to this being the finale in the series, I don't think we're gonna get another series after that, so let's just say that, The Return pretty much won the trophy for the most kills in Twin Peaks, so there's that. As for the character who has the most kills, well, the Polish accountant and the experiment only have 2 kills. Thomas, Jean, Ike, and the Woodsman have 2. Leland has 7 kills, although most of those were from the help of Bob. And finally, you knew it was coming. The character with the most kills in the series, it's Mr. C. I'm not even joking. Dale Cooper's doppelganger, of all people, he has the highest body count, standing at 9 kills. Jesus.
So there we go. 2 days worth of content covered in half an hour. Surprisingly enough, I did not plan an outro for this, so... Actually, scratch that. I did plan an ending for this, but it's a little too convoluted to film with a lower budget. and probably too strange for this platform anyways. Ain't that right, live action King Crimson? Yeah, that's what I thought you would say. Anyways, instead I'm going to take this time to advertise the Stephen Fry Chronicles, a very funny read from a very funny person. With that said, thank you for viewing this, and in the words of Gordon Cole,